What's up, Minimal fam? I am doing another kitchen tour. I haven't really changed anything in the past 4 months, and if any of you have seen my home tour video, you probably saw the gist of what my kitchen looks like now. But because I did let go of a lot of things since my last kitchen tour before I moved into this place, I thought I would give you just sort of a visual and one-by-one kind of tour of everything that I'm operating with, because it is a lot less than I used to have. I didn't have a ton to begin with, but I did let go of my dishes and a couple other items that have made living in my daily life a lot more simple. And because I don't have a kitchen table now anymore, I did make some adjustments to just fit my lifestyle. So I thought I would show you an updated tour. So let's get to it. Starting on the right here, this is my cookware collection. So I have a colander, a little measuring cup set, and then just one sort of saute pan and one little pot. I'm often cooking with both of those at once. I usually make rice and vegetables or rice and potatoes for dinner almost every single day. So it is handy to have two different ones. I did used to have a large pasta pot, but I found that even for a full box of pasta, it cooks completely fine in the saute pan. It doesn't boil over at all. And so I really had no need for that really large pot, so I did let that one go. The colander, obviously, for rinsing things and or just straining pasta. It's useful, washing veggies. The measuring cup, I don't bake at all, but I do because I'm cooking rice every day. It does come in handy to measure out the 2-to-1 ratio for rice and water, so I need that. And the little pot is for rice and cooking soups or sauces. This next section is all of my utensils. I have 2 spoons, 2 forks, 2 knives, and then 2 cutting knives, a larger one and a smaller one for little details like getting the pit out of an avocado. 1 wooden spoon that I use for cooking everything, whether it's a pasta or a sauce or rice or potatoes. I find that 1 spoon gets the job done. And if I'm making 2 different things, I really don't care if one thing mixes into the other because it's all for me. And then I have a pair of scissors, just basic kitchen scissors, and a can opener. I really honestly, do I need 2 of each silverware now that I have so few things? Probably not, but I don't think it's harming anything by sitting in there, and I tend to like things in pairs anyway. Here is the beverage and storage container section. I use a pure water filter. If anyone is curious on trying that, I used a Brita first and I thought it was gross. It definitely did not take the chlorine taste out of the water, but I've had good luck with Pure. I've used it for years now. 1 filter lasts about 3 months, and so you're just using tap water. Definitely a much better option than using a plastic source. I just have those 2 glass jars for drinking. Again, I could probably go down to 1 because it's usually just me, but on the off chance I do have someone over, it is nice to be able to offer them a glass of water. There really is never any other beverages in my home because I stopped drinking coffee last year, so I don't need any sort of coffee paraphernalia. And I stopped drinking alcohol several years ago now, so I don't need wine glasses or cocktail glasses or anything of that nature. And then beyond that, juices and just, sodas, anything like that, I really just don't have an interest in it. I only drink water, and that doesn't feel like deprivation to me. I really am just not interested in drinking food, if you will. I'd rather chew my food, so water's really all that I need. That little vessel in front of the glasses, actually, it's a sweet gift from one of my students. That one's awesome because it does multifunctional things. You can store food in it or leftover sauce. I use it to stir up my salad dressings if I'm making just a homemade one. My favorite one is just avocado mashed up with Dijon mustard. I highly recommend it. But it also works as a mug on the off chance I do want to have some herbal tea. I really don't love herbal tea that much. I do have one sort of bedtime one that I like, but really only in the colder months. And that actually works great as a mug. So that was one thing that was able to help me let go of my mug collection that was just sitting around collecting dust. I can use that on the off chance I do want herbal tea. That water bottle, obviously, duh, everyone needs a water bottle, helpful thing. Plastic water bottles suck, don't use them. That was actually another great gift from one of my really cool students several years ago. And Corkacol, great brand. I've dropped it several times, it has not dented. And then I just have those 2 little Tupperware if I'm ever bringing some food to work. Yes, I know they're plastic and metal containers are better, but I've had the red one, I think, for 12 or 15 years, something like that, and the other one for a very long time too, and it just seems wasteful to throw it into a landfill for the sake of getting metal when they still work perfectly fine. Then this last section is my dish collection, and I put dish in air quotes for you because I know this is not what a traditional place setting of dishes in a home looks like, but for me, it does all the functions I need to. The bigger wooden bowl in the back, I don't eat out of that. It's gigantic, but it is my produce bowl. I live off of potatoes. They are almost eaten by me every single day. So there's usually a huge stash of potatoes in there and fruit, whatever's in season, some limes that I use to spice up my rice, anything like that. So that is a great storage device. And I've mentioned before, I like functional things that serve as decor. So I think a giant bowl of fresh produce is beautiful, and that wooden bowl is beautiful. So that is my quote unquote kitchen decor. The cutting board, obviously, duh, everyone needs a cutting board to cut up fruit or veggies, or, well, that's really all I cut up. But the cutting board is great because it actually serves as a platter to eat off of. I had sort of the light bulb go off when I was on the fence of getting rid of my dishware, that what is a plate? It's just a flat surface to eat off of. Why can't I eat off of a cutting board? Yes, some people may say that's quirky and weird and doesn't fit their needs. That's fine. But for me, because I don't have a kitchen table anyway, the cutting board is actually awesome for sitting on the floor because it's kind of a larger surface area to keep things contained. And honestly, I really don't use a plate that much, but if I'm having, say, a platter of veggies and dip, or hummus and crackers, or a peanut butter sandwich, that's like my go-to dessert lately, actually. Let him raise your hands if you like some peanut butter and bread at the end of the day. I think it's delicious, but regardless, if I do need a flat surface, I just use my cutting board for that. So that's another multifunctional thing. But the main thing I'm eating 99% of my meals out of is the smaller wooden bowl in front. And yes, if you're looking at the proportions, it's really not that small, but if you are vegan, I have mentioned this before, you do not want to be scared of large portions because plant foods definitely have just a lower caloric density. So if you want to succeed on a vegan diet, you just need to get used to eating larger portions of food, and I love it. And just the simplicity out of eating out of one wooden bowl for every meal. I love it. I feel connected to my food with it. I love the simplicity of it, and I just think the aesthetic of the wooden bowl is beautiful. And for the types of foods that I make, a bowl actually just makes more sense anyway. It's usually for dinner, 95% of the time, it's rice and veggies, or rice with potatoes, or rice and chickpeas, or some lentil soup and whatever, or a curry, or a pasta. Those are all bowl-friendly foods that work best out of a bowl, so I'm happy to just have this one wooden bowl. And since getting rid of my dishes now almost 4 months ago, I have not had one single instance where I'm like, damn, eating this dinner feels so awkward out of this wooden bowl or off of my cutting board. I wish I had my dishes back. I honestly have not had one instance that has shown up. And I just like the lightness and ease of having these few things in my kitchen, the openness, the spaciousness, the easy to care for. And it was super easy to move, not having to worry about a bunch of breakable dishes. And I just enjoy eating off of the natural material of, it says it's made from magnolia. Maybe that's true, I would hope so. It's stamped on the bottom of it. But I really enjoy just the simplicity of my one wooden bowl. And here's what the collection looks like zoomed out all together on my yoga mat, because that's just how I roll. I don't love to count everything in my life because I do think that's a little bit obsessive and just annoying. I've counted my wardrobe, that's about it. But for the sake of this video, because I know some people will be curious and it is a small amount of things that took 2 seconds, there are 25 items total. I count the measuring cups as one thing because it's a set. So if you want to count the wooden thing that holds my utensils, then call it 26, whatever, it doesn't matter. The number's not really the point. The point is that I have pared my kitchen down to an extremely small amount of things in relativity to the average American home, but it works completely well for me. As I said earlier, there's not one instance of one day where I go to cook something or prepare something or eat something and I feel a sense of lack. I feel a sense of, oh shit, I don't have fill in the blank, I can't make this, or this feels so awkward to eat off of, or so awkward to prepare. It's really for how I live and how I cook. So simply Never the case. I feel like I have exactly what I need, and there's a sense of calmness. I never have decision fatigue. It never takes me hours to do my dishes. In fact, someone left a concern because I said I hand wash all my dishes. They said, oh, for sure, you should be using a dishwasher. It wastes so much more water to hand wash. Well, I think that's bogus, because after my meal, even if I used all my dishes to prepare everything, it takes me about 2 to 3 minutes to hand wash my dishes, and the average dishwasher runs for 45 minutes to an hour. So I don't buy that argument at all. And of course, you'll see there are no kitchen appliances, no blenders, no mixing pots, no gadgets. I really don't need any of those things. No judgment on you if you use them. The point of this is just paring down to exactly what adds value to your life, what is used on a daily basis, and then finding things that you can eliminate that only serve one purpose. For example, I don't have a toaster because that saute pan, I actually just make my toast on that, put it on medium low. Takes a little bit longer than a toaster, but it actually makes the bread come out better. And something like that little vessel in front of the 2 glasses that I mentioned I use for tea. There are little, and using the cutting board to eat things off of a flat surface on the rare occasion that I do. I think if you look around and scratch your head a little bit and investigate, you'll find that there are things that you use only once in a while for some special little function that you could actually use another device for that and be able to simplify and streamline and keep things calmer and more simple in your kitchen. Okay, so that is the kitchen tour. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully it sparked some inspiration on some things that you could possibly let go of or look into simplifying in your life. And remember, as always, my message here is not you need to copy me exactly or fit my rubric in order to get some sort of standard or award of being an ultra minimalist. Simplicity will look different for everyone. Everyone has very different needs. If you have a family of 6 and toddlers and grandparents that come to visit all the time and dogs and cats, or you love to entertain and throw big dinner parties, of course, your kitchen needs to look very different than mine, and that is totally okay. The point is not monkey see, monkey do, copycat, follow this formula, fit this rubric, follow these rules. It's about taking the principles of and inspiration of how I or other minimalists live and applying that to your own needs and preferences. I have mentioned many times that I just don't like to entertain. I don't like to have people over. I'm a natural introvert, and I have a very extroverted profession. In fact, 2 very extroverted professions of being here on YouTube as a content creator and interacting with hundreds, sometimes thousands of people every day, and then on top of that, just the energy exchange of being connecting with people here. But also, I work as a bartender at a restaurant, so I'm dealing with hundreds and thousands of people every week there. So it is very draining for me to have these professions, not in a bad way, especially YouTube, because I'm choosing to be here. Well, I'm choosing my other job too, but eventually I would like to not be there. But my point is, it's not a bad draining, it's just, it is what it is. I'm just wired this way. So it's about knowing personal boundaries of, if I am around thousands of people all day, every day, and then I spend my 2 days off just socializing and entertaining and having people over, that will drain my battery to 0 or -500 real quick. So I need time in solitude and peace and quiet to recharge. And I don't think there is anything wrong with this. People tend to project their preferences onto others and think that someone living outside of how they live must be sad or wrong, but not just different. Like, we're all just different. I'm not going to tell someone who loves to throw dinner parties that, oh, you really should just, stay home and meditate by yourself and just take away something you love. Like, no, of course not. It's just about finding your own lane and finding your own stride and adhering to that and knowing what your limits are, knowing what your boundaries are and what your authenticity is, and living in alignment with that. So if you are a very social person or a moderately social person and you love having people over for get-togethers, or you're a master baker or cook and you do need different types of vessels or gadgets to be able to prepare what you want to, great, fantastic. I'm not telling you to get rid of those things, but I do think if you take a closer look Now, there probably are a few things that you really aren't using. And remember, the bigger picture of minimalism is not just declutter so you can buy a bunch of new stuff. It's one, declutter so that you can make space in your life for more simplicity, more peace, more serenity, more ease, more money in your bank account. But two, it's about retooling our behavior as humans and setting a precedent, especially if you're a parent that has children. If you set the precedent and the impression on them now that you can live with a lot less and still get all of your needs met and be happy and functional and healthy, that will set a great impression on them to, as they become adults and they start buying things for themselves, to have a greater awareness with curating what really is necessary in life to be happy, healthy, and functional, and not fall into the same trap, the generational overconsumption that we have been in now for many, many years, really since the dawn of time. There's been snowballs of greed in different points of humanity and different cultures of humanity, but definitely in Western developed nations post-World War II, it has gotten flat out of hand, and it is not sustainable to live the way we are living. And again, minimalism is so much bigger than just aesthetic. It's so much bigger than just you. It's how can you be, to quote my guy Darian Ryder out there, how can you be part of the solution versus part of the problem? Yes, declutter your kitchen so you feel more at ease, but declutter your kitchen as a sort of a microcosm, a holographic effect to bringing simplicity into not just this fringe sort of movement on YouTube, but bringing simplicity back into how we operate as a culture. We're so far off from that, but I don't think there's this term in sports like throwing the game. If you're down by 30 in football or whatever, there's 1 minute left on the clock that you think there's no way you could win, so people just sort of throw the game and play poorly. Don't do that. We're at a tipping point where we don't need to throw the game, where yes, the earth is in so much trouble and our hand was playing a part in most of that, but we're at a point where we can still course correct. I watched the movie Interstellar for the first time 2 days ago, and actually it was so good. I watched it again last night, and I'm late to the party on this one because that movie was like 10 years old now. What was I doing 10 years ago? I don't know. I was busy, I guess, apparently. But it blew me away how wonderful it was for so many reasons. Just the music, obviously Hans Zimmer, duh. But the acting, the story, and the way it blends sort of science into spirituality. There's a great quote by Einstein, I believe. Yeah, it was Einstein. Because there's often this rift between spirituality and science, and people that are one camp or the other say that they have to be these mutually exclusive entities and thought forms. But Einstein said, I don't use science as a way to disprove religion. I use science or God. I use science as a way to get closer to God. And this movie sort of weaves into that in a beautiful way. There's a lot of, yes, science in it, and it is science fiction sort of, but it is tied into really very real issues that are happening on our planet right now. But it does in the end, and I'm going to spoil it for you because it's 10 years old at this point, it does pull into this beautiful spirituality. And just to put the premise in a nutshell, Earth is dying in that movie, and it is past the point of no return. They're not throwing the game, just the game is over. They have no crops, the air is become poisoned, they can't live, and there's very few humans left on Earth. And we talk about these things, we make movies about this, not just to scare ourselves or to make money. I mean, movies are made to make money, but I think these things show up in our collective consciousness because there's a lot of sort of these apocalypse type movies that have come out because it's this greater collective awareness, whether it's, Avatar or other movies like that, or way back in the day, like Fern Gully, if anyone 80s kids remember that. It's showing up on our collective consciousness of, okay, things are okay right now, and we're still walking around like, la, 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 let's buy, grow the economy, consume all this, like all that matters is wealth, but we're killing the planet, and it hasn't gotten to the point for us in the West. There are many other countries that are already dealing with famine or lack of clean water or just inability to have any proper resources, and that is already happening. But for us in cushy Western countries, it's very easy to just put our head in the sand and go about our daily business and focus on, well, what can I buy and consume to improve my life? And the these movies show up and are sort of collective consciousness too, because it is, people are thinking, no, we could actually get to this point and we are not that far off. And there are a lot of people sounding the alarm bells, but not enough people are paying attention. And for those that are paying attention, there's the camp that wants to throw the game, if you will, and put their head in the sand and say, well, it's fucked no matter what. And so why should I adjust my life or get rid of certain comforts because we're all screwed no matter what? Well, I think that's a piss poor mentality and does nothing to help the situation. And you can, to bitch and moan about something but take no action yourself or think you have no power to take action is just as egregious as those who you would say are quote unquote ignorant. But there are other people that really do want to make a change, and it can be daunting, and you can think that, well, how can decluttering a knife or whatever, or my blender out of my kitchen, how the hell does that do anything? Well, in the short little, this is the drop in the ocean sort of analogy. Does that one action in and of itself change the world? No, but just putting that practice into place of, you know what, I don't need this thing and I'm not going to go replace it. I'm going to give it to someone who can use it, and I'm going to set the precedent for next generations and my own behavior in the future of, I don't need to be taking all of this excess that is far beyond what I need to survive as a human being. And then you set that example for your children and then your children's children or just neighbors. And if you don't have kids, it will ramify out and that will have positive effects. And that is how you take power into your own hands. And it's very easy to just point your finger at the government and just wait for some law to go in effect or some ban to go in effect. But those things, they very rarely happen, or if they do happen, they get repealed. And if there's a lot of red tape, or we're not making change fast enough. And when it does come down to you have a lot more power than you think as a consumer. If you start saying no to the endless shopping habits, become used to living with less and realizing that it's not deprivation at all, but it's just normal to use only exactly what you need. That is how revolution happens, and that's a peaceful revolution. That's not starting a war because we don't need more wars on this planet. That's just completely retooling our behavior and looking at the mirror, like that Michael Jackson song, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I'm not going to sing it for you. My voice is horrible singing. But it's that you want to make a change. Well, you change. Don't point the finger and say it's the 1% or it's the government or whatever. It's you. It's all of us on our Amazon Prime getting massive amounts of things delivered that we just don't fucking need. We can make the change. We can make drastic change, but that's why I show my life on this channel. Does your life have to look exactly like mine? No, but if you did 10, 20, 30, 50% of what I'm doing and applied it into your life in a way that makes sense, it's yes, well, there's going to be a messy area where we're decluttering, which is why you want to try and declutter responsibly, but it's just completely retooling the psychology of human behavior and human consumption that we've gotten used to. And there will be this messy transition, but eventually we could get back to a state where we're producing and consuming far less than what we are now, and coming back to putting our resources into consuming what we truly only need and being responsible with that. And that will make a difference. And the reason I brought up Interstellar is because again, to spoil the ending for you, but I'm probably the last person to have seen it. When I'm probably not going to explain this super right, it is kind of confusing, but he essentially finds that gravity can transcend space and time. And so him in this present he's sending messages to his daughter back 30, 40 years, and she receives them, and then she has ended up able to take that information and to make constructive decisions that do end up helping humanity. That was sort of a bad nutshell, but I think you get the drift. But where they thought these messages in the prior years were coming from aliens or whatever, the sort of epiphany that Matthew McConaughey, the main actor, has is that, no, this is my higher fifth dimensional self that's coming from years in the future giving messages to me now, and then so I can pass to my daughter so that we can make better choices. And I just love that, because is that for sure, science or truth, or do I have dogmatic beliefs on spirituality like that? No, I don't, because I believe, the only thing I know is that we don't know, but it pulled at my heart in a way of, yes, there's some truth in this here, at least for me. I do think there's a higher self, a higher awareness that can push into you to make better decisions from your life, that's coming from a place that's beyond your understanding and perhaps beyond this time and space that we have now, but pushing us to course correct. And that's why you see the minimalist movement taking off, the tiny home movement taking off, the off-grid movement, the coming back to the land movement. There's something pushing in our consciousness that's coming perhaps maybe from these higher dimensional selves and on an awareness from a place we can't understand to help us to course correct, because in contrast to that movie, we are at a point where we can course correct if we make massive changes now. And again, that can start with the simplest thing of decluttering your blender or juicer out of your kitchen, but that snowballs into just making a better choice today and tomorrow and next week, and then your friends start making better choices, and your colleagues, your children, their friends. It can snowball and it can ripple out because human consciousness is so powerful. And if you have the right intention and you're seeing the bigger picture of, okay, yes, I want a more simple home, but I'm doing this to take action because the action is in our power. Don't leave it up to the government, leave it up to us and the choices that we can make. And that can be a revolution. Okay, little unexpected rant at the end of a very simple kitchen tour, but if you're still with me, thank you for listening, my friends, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.